At Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too, because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.
Good morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Mike Krueger. I'm coming to you live from my backyard here. You know, it's been really, these mornings have been absolutely gorgeous. And I thought, why not start the show just to illustrate that, yes, we've got a heat wave heading our way. This is something we've been talking about really all week long. And we've had these really nice, cool mornings. So I thought I'd start off in the backyard. We've got a nice little cool breeze out here. It's really nice. So if you need to go for that morning walk or a jog or a bike ride, the morning hours are really going to be the best bet for you, and taking your dog out as well, because we don't want them to burn their paws, right? We got to make sure that we're protecting our pets as well. So I just thought I'd start out here. I mean, there's a little bit of that breeze. This is something I've been talking about. We're seeing these morning breezes. They'll probably be looking at even breezier tomorrow morning, but of course, we'll get into all of that a little bit later. Now, what do you say we get into the studio? So I've got to go through my back door into the studio for my home studio here. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of get that started to show you that, yeah, we're talking about this heat, kind of get a little tour of what's going on here. There you go. If you kind of look behind me here, you can kind of see the studio. You can see the lights. This is my little studio here. Isn't that fun?
Well, what do you say we take a look at... Oh, now we need to turn this off. I'm working on this. We're getting technical here. There we go. Hey, that was fun, right? But I wanted to show you the current temperatures out there right now and how it is nice and cool to start off, even though, again, we are starting with these going to be looking at very hot temperatures later on in the day. So that's pretty much what we've got going on. Take a look at the temperatures out there right now. Let's take a look at our Krueger's Quickcast. And this is just kind of a quick look at the forecast here. So those of you that are in a hurry, you want to know what to expect here. You can start the show off just by looking at the forecast and know what to expect at that point. So here you can see we've got a warming trend this week. Temperatures are starting today with this heat wave, and then temperatures really starting to ramp up by tomorrow through the weekend. And then by early next week, we are already looking at temperatures starting to drop. Now this weekend, what I'm expecting to see here are chance for thunderstorms in the forecast. It looks like we've got some monsoon moisture working its way in. I've still got some feedback coming back in here. Let's see if I can stop that. There, we're done. We're done. Okay. But yeah, we've got some mountain thunderstorms here to talk about as well. So we'll get into all of that in our deeper dive. But before we get to that, here, let's just kind of show you what to expect here for today. As mentioned, it's going to be that nice, cool start to the day. But once the sun comes out, I tell you what, it's going to heat up pretty quickly here. So you're going to notice that as we go through the morning hours, probably starting off with some of that morning fog in some spots for the coast, but overall should be a nice start to the day, even for the coast. There you can see the winds a little breezy in some spots here, as you can see for the north end of the valley, and I certainly experienced a little bit of that in my backyard as well, but nothing to be concerned about. In fact, it's kind of nice. It's a cool breeze, actually. And then for the afternoon, yeah, wind's picking up a little bit, but you're talking 15, maybe 20 miles per hour in the valley. And then tomorrow morning, this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier. Winds are actually going to start off not so calm. They're going to start off a little breezy out of the north before they start to subside going into your Thursday afternoon. So the big picture, if you look closely, you'll see this big line of clouds just off to our west. Those tried to move in, but what's happening is high pressure is building in, and that is why we're going to be looking at those warmer temperatures. So Futurecast shows some of that fog. I'm getting a report from Jackie saying fog, a little foggy this morning in Trinidad, so that certainly explains some of the fog that we are seeing out there this morning. I think you're going to see some clearing this afternoon, Jackie, maybe even later this morning. But there you can see here by midday today, we are seeing still some of that fog hugging, especially around the Eureka area. And then it may return a little bit here this afternoon and evening. So I do think you're going to kind of see that fog come in, then maybe break apart a little bit, and then maybe come back in later in the afternoon. But I do expect more sunshine for places like Crescent City, for example. And then tomorrow morning, tonight, we still have some of that fog, but a lot of that should burn off. And I do expect probably more sunshine for you, Jackie, for example, in Trinidad or Eureka in general, probably more sunshine tomorrow. All right, so here it is. Here's your forecast for today. It's going to be up to about 100 degrees, give or take, for the valley. Now, to the north and east of the valley, Siskiyou County eastward, Temperatures mid to upper 80s, although places like Susanville about 93. For Trinity County, inland, low to mid 90s, and for the coast, actually a tad warmer. You're looking at temperatures today in the mid to upper 60s for your daytime highs. And for tonight, yeah, I mean, we're going to be dropping down more like the mid to upper 60s as opposed to the low 60s. So again, we're starting to see those overnight lows begin to creep up as well, including the higher elevations. You think about the last few mornings, places like El Turris have been in the 30s, but more like the 40s for tonight. All right, let's take a look at that 7-day outlook. We're going to start off with the valley here, and this is more of a prolonged heat wave. What I mean by that is, you think of the heat wave we saw last time, it was only a few days, but for this time, it's going to be about 4 or 5 days of 105 to 106 for places like Redding, and just over 100 degrees here through at least the weekend, even into early next week. So that's essentially what's happening here. Is it's going to last a little bit longer. It's not going to be any hotter. It'll just be hotter for longer. All right, you see temperatures in for the coast, that is, in the mid to upper 60s. I think we're going to see periods of sunshine, periods of fog. Most of the fog will be in the overnight and early morning hours. Inland, I think mainly sunny skies. You're back in the triple digits by later this week. Trinity County probably by tomorrow. And we keep it over 100 degrees at least through Monday. And look at that, maybe some lightning strikes and the chance for thunderstorms next Tuesday. Now you can see here for the mountains north and east of the valley, so I've included a chance as early now as Sunday for Mount Shasta. Yesterday it wasn't until Monday, so I'm seeing some signs that it may be closer to Sunday for Siskiyou County. For Modoc County, Eastern Mountains, Susanville, and when I say Eastern Mountains, mainly Lassen and Plumas counties, and then of course for Modoc County for the weekend. And that'll continue into early next week as well. All right, that's a look at your Krueger's quick cast. Let's take a look at the fire conditions out there and what's going on with the latest on the fires that are going on right now. And there's really not a whole lot to report. So this is really just one of my favorite reports, right? Because there's just not much to talk about. The Bay Cliff fire, yes, it's still burning. It's 45% contained at 971 acres, but we haven't seen any change in containment or acreage. Now, the Orleans complex, latest report now, since yesterday, is 22,144 acres. Hasn't grown, but the containment has grown. It was 88% yesterday, now up to 91% containment. All right, so the winds out there this morning. Yeah, there you can see that north wind that we are seeing. As we take you through the afternoon today, they'll probably pick up a little bit here, but I mean, not a big deal. Nothing to be concerned about at all. And then we go into Thursday morning, and you can see those winds a little breezy out of the north here for the morning. So you'll probably notice maybe on your morning jog or walk or bike ride, you may be noticing a little bit more of a breeze. And then the wind should die down by Thursday afternoon, and I don't expect the winds to be much of an issue for Friday morning. Friday afternoon, yeah, they pick up a little bit here, but once again, nothing to be terribly concerned about. So what does that mean for a fire weather risk? Well, we're in that moderate to high range for the valley, simply because it is getting hotter, simply because the humidity is low, and the winds are a little breezy, but as I mentioned, nothing alarming. Now notice tomorrow midday, we're already seeing the fire weather risk up to high. And again, that's because the winds will start off strong and then weaken through the day. But look at the humidity levels. I mean, they're down to the single digits. So it's going to be hot, a little breezy, and very dry. And that's going to give us even higher fire danger for your Thursday. However, look at Friday. Friday through midday, at least, low to moderate. Again, we're talking about calmer winds. It's going to be hot. You're talking even upwards of 105, 106 for Redding. But again, the winds are going to be calmer. And that is really a big key playing factor in our overall fire weather risk. If we can keep those winds calm, that can really help. That all being said, we still can't let our guard down, can we? All right, so we can take a look at Lake Oroville. There's a look at the spillway there, and we've got just a gorgeous start to the day, really across the board. It's that cool start that we're seeing in the valley, even cooler, obviously, by the lakes. There's Lake Oroville, North Forebay. Calm winds out there this morning. Here's Main Street, Chico on Highway 32, looking like we are seeing those clear skies to start off the day there. Clear skies on Highway 99 at Neal Road, and clear roads. No traffic backups there, at least based on this particular spot of the highway. Here's Highway 44 at Sundial Bridge Drive in Redding, and we are looking at some clear sailing there as well. I was trying to figure out how to get the tilde on top of the N there, but take a look at the sunrise camera here. This is out in Crescent City. So you can kind of see the overcast skies, not necessarily foggy, kind of that what we call a stratus deck that is kind of along the coast here. So that's what's going on there. It's not quite as dense with the fog. I think as you start heading southward, you're probably looking at more in the way of those lower clouds kind of moving on in. In fact, I believe the camera should be, this is just north of Trinidad. Doesn't look like the visibility is very low, but I am seeing that there is, looks like some dew and some water on the windshields there and on the cars, indicating that there's some humidity out there, obviously. But that is to be expected out along the coast. You tend to see that morning dew, pretty typical. What I'm going to do before I take you to it, I'm going to take you to another camera here, and that would be the Sundial Bridge camera. But I got to get that all set up first. Takes a little bit, a couple of mouse clicks, but once we get those mice clicked, there you go. Hey, it looks like some activity this morning. Maybe some people took my advice because, you know, everybody watches Weather NorCal, right? And it looks like they took my advice and they decided to get out early in the morning. There's someone taking your dog for a walk. That's a good start to the day. I tell you what, really great start to the day. So absolutely gorgeous. And by the way, I want to remind you, of course, you can see there at the bottom part of your screen there, it says download the app for free. I do want to remind you that there is a free Weather NorCal app, and you can share your photos. I want you to share your photos of your pets, maybe your morning walk, your afternoon walk, whatever. If we have a beautiful sunrise, a beautiful sunset, you can certainly share those from the free Weather NorCal app, and I'd love to share them right here on Coffee with Krueger, and I'd love to share them in general on social media and on my morning updates, the works. So be sure to check that out. Yeah, I mean, we just continue to see more and more people come into the frame here enjoying this beautiful, beautiful weather. And a bug also, it looks like on the screen there, enjoying this. Let's go ahead and get out of there. Let me find my mouse that I need. I've got like 10 mice that I have to control here, and it gets a little tricky. All right, there we go. Here's a look at your Bald Hill West camera, and we're going to be taking a look at just another beautiful sunrise. Now, this is looking down at the community of Hoopa, turning out to be a gorgeous start to the day there as well. Here's a look at Soda Ridge. We're looking at some of the crags out there, and you know, you just got to love the rugged terrain. You know, when the sun starts coming up, you can see these beautiful shadows. If you've ever had the pleasure of summiting Mount Shasta, when you get up there early in the morning, you're looking down as the sun is coming up and it's behind you. You can see the peak of Mount Shasta, and it's just so exhilarating. It's just awesome. Just absolutely beautiful. So there's a look at Soda Ridge. Now we're taking a look at Fort Jones. And, you know, I was mentioning this yesterday. You know, usually during Coffee with Krueger, we can see the sun at least just beginning to make its way into the valley floor. Not necessarily the case now. We are starting to see these shorter and shorter days, so it's taking longer for the sun to rise. That means we're seeing these darker mornings. But we're going to continue to see that sunrise later and later as we get closer and closer to the fall. In the fall, of course, is when things begin to cool off a bit out there. Hey, let's check in with some of you this morning here. We've got, I think we've got a joke coming in from Lisa Stevens. She is saying, hey, Mike, do you know what date? Aha, said in the best camel voice. Have a great day, all. Yes, of course, the ever so famous camel ad for Geico. Mike, you know what we know what day it is. Yes, said in the camel voice. Thank you, Lisa, for fun little smile this morning. We've also got Tracy Sackett saying good morning to everybody. We've got Jackie just giving me that confirmation that yes, it indeed is a little foggy this morning. I do think you're going to see that begin to clear out even before the noon hour. So that should make for a pretty nice day. We've also got Curtis Brown saying good morning, Mike and everyone. Some grapes are ready to harvest this week. Another brie, I think it's brie, or is it bricks? I think it's brie test this morning. All right, some terminology by a wine connoisseur. Thank you, Curtis, for your update there, and I appreciate you chiming in. And feel free to chime in. Maybe we'll share it with you later on in the show. In the meantime, we are going to mention our sponsor. As you know, we have a sponsor here at Coffee with Krueger, and that is Wind River Resort and Casino. At Wind River Resort and Casino, enjoy friendly service, a wide variety of specials and promotions, plus all of your favorite slots and table games. Once again, I want to thank Wind River for their support of Coffee with Krueger. Let's take a look at those current conditions out there right now. And we are sitting at about 63 degrees for Redding. Just, you know, again, it's that we're talking about this heat. But it's just so nice out in the morning, isn't it? I mean, those cool temperatures, a little bit of that north breeze, 66 degrees for Chico. Look at Willows at 58 degrees this morning, 43 in Bernie, 41 for Alturas. It was cooler the last few mornings up in some of the higher elevations, but still, some of those mountain peaks and some of those mountain valleys seeing some pretty cold temperatures down into the 30s. But already, you see that? That's the latest coming in. As the sun comes up, we're starting to see less and less of those blues on the map. It's heating up pretty quickly, and it will throughout the day today. Temperatures mid to upper 50s for the coast, by the way. So we can see this area of low pressure right here. This right here is the reason why our temperatures started off cooler this week, but as it moves off to the north, it's going to allow this heat over the desert southwest to build in. Now, the National Weather Service yesterday decided to go ahead and issue a heat advisory. Now, you might be asking this question. Why are they issuing a heat advisory for this one when it's not expected to be any hotter than it was with the last heat wave? And I'll tell you why. Because this is going to be more of a prolonged heat wave, right? We're not talking about 2-3 days. We're talking 4 or 5 days of 105, give or take, temperatures in the valley. That's why the valley has been included in this. By the way, this won't take effect until Thursday. So we've got the heat today, until Friday. So it'd be a Friday and Saturday event. So we've got the heat coming in, and it will be just as hot on Thursday as it will be on Friday for the most part. But again, the recovery time is harder because it's kind of an interesting algorithm, if you will, because it really kind of takes a look at not just the heat that you see through the day, but what kind of recovery do we see at night? Because again, the key is this. When we're talking about heat, we're talking about heat indexes, or heat indices, that is, the heat risk, as a matter of fact. So for today, for example, the National Weather Service has what's called the heat risk. The yellow indicates for people that are extremely sensitive to the heat are the ones that are most susceptible. And the orange, that is moderate heat risk. Now, if you notice here as we go into tomorrow, we're seeing a lot more orange and even some red on the map. So what does that mean? Well, moderate means it affects most people, not everybody, but most people sensitive to the heat. And as I mentioned, the key is without proper cooling or hydration. So in a situation like this heat wave, for example, you may be okay because you've got proper hydration, you've got a place to stay cool, whether it's at work or at home, but there are plenty of people out there that don't have that. So if you don't have a way to stay cool in heat like this, it can be dangerous. And that's why it's important, if you know somebody that doesn't have proper cooling or hydration, to check up on them, especially if it's elderly, young children, pets, for example. Make sure you check up on them. Now, as we go into Friday, look what's happening. Yeah, now you're seeing more reds on the map. What that means is major. That means it affects anyone. It doesn't matter how healthy you are, how much you go to the gym and work out and, pump that iron. It doesn't matter, right? Because the heat can eventually impact you if you don't take care of yourself. So again, it has everything to do with hydration and if you have a place to stay cool. And part of this too is because it stays pretty warm even in the overnight hours. So we take a look at this mini roller coaster ride. It's going to stay kind of up there for a while before we see temperatures begin to drop. So this heat, you see what's happening? It's just moving closer and closer to Northern California. So temperatures are increasing. We're noticing it today. That's why we expect some triple-digit heat for parts of the valley. That sticks around through the weekend. See, it's really not going much anywhere, is it? Through the weekend. Then this cooler air here is going to start to migrate eastward through next week. That's going to push that heat back down to the south and east, and it will retreat. Temperatures are starting off fairly hot to start off next work week, but after that, temperatures do start to drop, as you can see here. Again, this is what I was talking about, the prolonged heat wave, folks. We're not just talking 2 to 3 days. We're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, even upwards of 5 days of this heat wave before we see the temperatures begin to drop, and we could most likely be below normal by the middle and latter part of next week. So there is relief in sight. We've just got to get through these next 5-6 days. So you can see the area of high pressure. That's typical. It's known as the Four Corners High. You've got the monsoon moisture kind of streaming up from that subtropical moisture working its way in. Typical seasonal monsoon moisture that they see over the desert southwest. For us, brown and blue indicates dry air. That's what we're dealing with right now. But watch what happens as we progress through the rest of the week. See what's happening? That moisture is working its way northward throughout the rest of the week. And by the weekend, I'm expecting there to be enough of that moisture for parts of the mountains to squeeze out some showers and thunderstorms, both Saturday and Sunday. And I think most of it will be in Modoc, Lassen, and Plumas counties for Saturday. Now Sunday, we're starting to see it work its way a little bit more westward. And I would say that places like even Mount Shasta, Siskiyou County may see some thunderstorms as early as Sunday. But look at even Monday. See this little dry slot right here west of the valley? That is Trinity County. That means that we are most likely going to stay dry there even through Monday. Now you're probably wondering, well, there's plenty of moisture in the valley as well. Why not any thunderstorms there? Well, we probably won't see thunderstorms, but the moisture content will be higher. Humidity will be higher. That will help, at least in our fire weather risk, in keeping it down. It'll probably still be high because this is not a tremendous amount of moisture moving in. This is where the most humidity is. If we can get these reds in there, then yeah, that's a different story. Then you're talking muggy conditions. And certainly we'll feel more muggy than we're used to as well as we get towards the end of the week and into this upcoming weekend as that monsoon moisture works its way in. So let's kind of spell this all out for you, walk you through the timing of it all, because it's going to take a while before that chance for thunderstorms in the mountains it makes its way here. So for today, we got the sunny skies really much across the board, although we are seeing some of the fog, low clouds off and on through the day around Eureka. Then I expect for tomorrow morning a little bit of patchy fog out there. That should burn off. We expect mainly sunny skies through a good portion of the day on Thursday for the coast. Sunny skies elsewhere as well. Friday, there's that morning fog. Friday afternoon, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for that fog to burn off, but you can see some clearing around the immediate coast here. So there will probably be some clearing. You'll probably see not too far off the distance that marine layer kind of backing off a bit Friday afternoon. By the way, I want to point out too, this is convective clouds here. This is a sign of some of the moisture that's beginning to move on in. I don't think there's going to be enough instability for some showers or thunderstorms, but we could see it. We'll have to watch Friday. Friday could see that potential, especially, say, around Alturas eastward and maybe even eastern portions of Lassen and Plumas counties, seeing the potential for maybe a shower or thunderstorm popping up, but those chances will be better as we take you into your Saturday. So, in fact, let's take a look at that here in our longer range forecast. Once again, there's the area of high pressure. The flow around that high pressure is helping to bring up that monsoon moisture. So by the time we get into Saturday, look what's happening. Now, you see it's not very widespread. It's mainly along the Sierra here, but I do think some of it could be working its way into Modoc, Lassen, and Plumas counties. Then on Sunday, see what's happening? Now we're seeing those thunderstorms. Showing a little bit off to the west here. That may be close to a little bit closer to the valley here, but it may be a little bit too dry for that. Then we go into your Monday, and now it's making its way into places like Siskiyou and pretty much all of the mountains, as I mentioned, with the exception of possibly around, say, Trinity County. And then eventually by Tuesday of next week, maybe Trinity County getting in on that. So you get the idea. We'll continue to watch this and monitor. I think the timing and the overall intensity of these storms are something we're going to have to really fine-tune as we get closer to the weekend. Meanwhile, the lake levels, typical, start to see them drop through the summer season, but as long as we can keep that historical average above 100%, we are in great shape, so we certainly are. But there you see your wave heights for today, not an issue, not even really even an issue for your Thursday. All you can see as you start heading out to the open seas, those wave heights are increasing a little bit here with that approaching area of low pressure. There you can see those winds from the northwest at 5 to 10 knots, waves from the west at 3 feet at 5 seconds, and from the northwest at 3 feet at about 10 seconds in some of that patchy morning fog. Here's your neighborhood forecast, sponsored in part by Dignity Health. Trinity County is going to be looking at those temperatures for today along Highway 299 in the, we'll call low to mid 90s, 95 degrees for Coffee Creek and Trinity Center, and 93 degrees for Lewiston. I've got you dry through the weekend, even Monday, maybe a chance for some thunderstorms in Trinity County by next Tuesday. Look for a high of 88 degrees for High and Palm today, 87 in Wildwood and Ruth, about 89 degrees. Your Dignity Health North Coast neighborhood forecast. Temperatures in the 80s, even around 90 for places like Redway, 89 for Garberville. You're dry for the next 7 days. That monsoon moisture, yeah, maybe Trinity County by Tuesday, but not necessarily for the inland areas. And there's a look at Fortuna. Temperatures there should generally be in the 70s for Friday through the weekend. There's a look at your forecast out towards Trinidad. You're topping out at about 72 degrees today. Could see some breaks in those clouds this morning and afternoon. 67 degrees for McKinleyville, 93 in Hoopa, and Willow Creek, about 95 degrees. We'll take you up to the north with 80 degrees for Gas Key, Orleans 93, and temperatures in the mid-60s, give or take, for Crescent City for the next 7 days. Here's your Dignity Health Siskiyou County neighborhood forecast with temperatures around the low to mid-90s for the Highway 96 corridor, I-5 upper 80s to around 90. I've got your thunderstorms in there as early as Sunday, continuing into early next week. For Scott Valley, temperatures in the upper 80s for your daytime highs today. Temperatures could get up to about 100 degrees by the time we get into your Friday. Central and eastern Siskiyou County, temperatures there in the mid to upper 80s, although Dunsmuir, one of the warmer spots, at about 91. Thunderstorms as early as Sunday, continuing into early next week. Your Modoc County neighborhood forecast, we got temperatures today in the mid to upper 80s for your highs. Newell about an 83, 88 for Alturas. Speaking of Alturas, there it is. By Saturday, maybe some thunderstorms as early as Saturday. Eastern Mountains out towards Montgomery Creek about 92. Also seeing that chance for thunderstorms. However, I would say it's mainly going to be, say, Lassen Volcanic National Park, Chester, for example, maybe some thunderstorms there. But Bernie, I think you're going to hold off until Monday. Monday and Tuesday, maybe a chance for some thunderstorms there. As I mentioned, maybe around Lassen Park, maybe around Chester and Lake Elminor. You're seeing the potential for thunderstorms as early as Saturday. That'll continue into your Sunday as well, Monday and Tuesday. So once that monsoon moisture comes in, it'll probably stick around at least through Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. Take a look at the eastern mountains to the south. Paradise, no thunderstorms for you, just getting warmer, mid-90s by Thursday through the weekend. And there you can see Susanville. Yes, you got the thunderstorms in the forecast here for your Saturday, Sunday, and into early next week. Your Dignity Health Valley neighborhood forecast. So this is where we start to see temperatures right around 100 degrees, give or take. 98 degrees for Corning, as well as Willows. You know, Chico, I mean, you got 99 for your high. Could you touch 100 degrees today? Sure, not out of the question. Temperatures over 100 degrees, though, by Thursday through the weekend and into early next week. There's a look to the north. I got about 101, so just barely over 100 degrees here for places like Redding, the city of Shasta Lake, Palisade 100, Cottonwood 100. I've got you at 99 for Red Bluff, but once again, I mean, splitting hairs. You could see 100 degrees here for today. Looking at your 7-day forecast for Redding, 106 degrees for Thursday, 105 on Friday, and then those temperatures pretty much just hovering around 105 to 106. And again, the key to this heat wave and why we do have a heat advisory this time around as opposed to the last heat wave is the longevity of the heat. This heat is going to stick around for a bit longer than we did last time, and that's why we do have that heat advisory. We're probably going to start seeing excessive heat warnings in the works in the days to come. But in the meantime, just know and note that it is going to be hot any way you look at it, with the exception of the coast. You know, I always say that we can't forget about our neighbors on the coast here. Not necessarily so hot there, is it? But you get the idea here. So there you go. You need to stay cool, need to do whatever you can to stay cool. Remember your friends, remember your family, remember the elderly, pets, young children. They are most susceptible because pets and children in particular sometimes don't know when to slow down, do they? So you got to make sure that they are staying hydrated and keeping themselves cool. And yourself, take care of yourself too. Always be sure to do that too. We're going to check in with a couple of other people. Oh, Curtis said, thank you. I was wondering about that. It is Brix, not Brie. Not like Brie, like the cheese, right? It's Brix. It's pronounced like Brix. Thank you. Appreciate that. For wine, I guess he's checking out for the grapes. The Brix is something to check, I guess, to maybe harvest and then eventually make wine. Maybe I'll Google it. I don't know. Jackie, any temp above 100 degrees is too hot for this coastal girl. Stay cool, everyone. Oh, something happened there. That was weird. Yes, I agree. I think anyone. But you live on the coast, so, you know, when you're in the 70s, that's just, you know, you can't really beat that. Looks like we got someone new coming in here this morning. Cynthia saying, Capitola is definitely calling me during these heat waves. Yeah, absolutely. Got to go anywhere you can to stay nice and cool out there. And we got a person by the name of Dez. We got a new person here. He reminds me of a Quagmire from Family Guy. Yes, I've heard that before. I don't know if I necessarily see it, but okay, I appreciate that. That's fun. All right. Well, that is going to do it for us today. What do you say we call it a day and get ready to wrap up Coffee with Krueger this Wednesday, hump day? You know what day it is. It's according to the camel from Geico and from our friend Lisa reminding us of that commercial. So thanks again for checking in this morning. Stay cool. Do whatever you can to stay cool. And we will see you tomorrow morning right here on Coffee with Krueger starting at 6:30. In the meantime, be sure to check the latest updates at noon. Of course, I've got an update that I do at 6 o'clock in the morning as well. Noon and 6 p.m. You can check the latest on this heat wave and the chances for thunderstorms as I continue to monitor those forecast models. Be sure to download that free Weather NorCal app as well. There you can see right there, if you're watching on your big screen or not on your phone, you can actually take get your photo app out and point it right there at the screen, and you can see, and it'll take you right there to the download page, so you can download the app for free. I really do highly recommend it, folks, and I want to see those numbers go up higher for the app, and because I just think it's a great resource. And here's another cool thing that I discovered with it, is if you look closely here, there are widgets for it now. You see that right there? It says 63 degrees, and then it also has a high of 101, low of 74. That is the forecast for Redding right there. You have it right there on your lock screen. That is coming from the Weather NorCal app. And again, I want to remind you, this is not an AI generated app that we're talking about here. This is an app that is generated by me. I generate a forecast that then goes into the app, and so the forecast that you are looking at is from me. There it is on the app on the home screen right there. You can see the current temperature of 64 degrees, and you can see the 7-day forecast at a quick glance. It shows the highs and the cloud conditions and the works. So again, be sure to download that app for free. Just search for Weather NorCal or point your camera to it right there. There you go. All right, that is going to do it for us today. Have yourselves a great Wednesday, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.
Thank you.